I will
Okay,
send it.
maybe.
I got it from Rahim.
Okay. All right. So at least you'll have the recording that you can share
Yeah, we
with
still have
them.
it.
Okay, good.
No, they sent new one. They sent new one. I got it.
Okay, good. All right. So today's agenda, we're going to be looking at what is financial policy. We're going to be looking at ways to implement financial policies. We're going to do a financial review. We're going to look at leaving a paper trail, and most importantly, creating peace of mind, especially when it comes around finances.
Mhm.
So the output of this training specifically will be a financial policy to help you understand how each policy is implemented. You would have gained the lessons and knowledge to be able to do this and to sustain a successful organization. And that's the purpose of what we're doing today. So as you see, as we go through the checklist, I like to go through the checklist every time we get together. We've accomplished all of these already: strategic planning, on funding sustainability, strategies to strengthen the organization power to build strong mutual influence relationships within the organization, with clientele, with stakeholders. We did board of director training, focusing on their responsibility and contribution to organizational operational efficiency in areas of accountability, ethical, policy, decision-making process. We did executive staff leadership training, focusing on program management, sustainability, strategic plan. We did some training on HR policies and procedures. We did leadership training on the essential communication, collaboration, and management skills needed to empower and inspire innovation and teamwork. Last time we did accounting services and registration of business name and HST with the CRA. And today we're doing financial policy review and improvement. We only have, I think, a couple of sessions left in this series where we're going to be doing some training on how to use virtual platforms safely and effectively. And then we're going to go through everything that we have compiled thus far, so that I can create a strategic planning reports and recommendations on your organization operational effectiveness. And that'll be pretty much it. I will submit the report to you for your data review and analysis. So we've been spending quite some time together, but it's like, you know, couple more sessions and it's coming to an end. But, you know, we've accomplished a lot in terms of what we've learned and what we've done over the time. And at least you'll have a report at the end of it that you can always refer to of everything that we've worked on, and to make sure that you have operational efficiency going forward for your organization.
Okay.
So first, what is financial policy? The responsibility for managing and protecting the assets of any nonprofit organization rests on the shoulders of the board of directors. That's all of you. So this presentation reviews basic policies and procedures that organizations should have in place to protect their financial assets. Why we need them. Some people may feel that implementing strict financial procedures is an insult to the integrity and honesty of their treasurer and others who manage the funds of the organization, but that's not true. In reality, procedures of this type are as much for the protection of these people as they are for the protection of the organization. Proper financial procedures help to take the entire burden off the shoulders of the treasurer and eliminate temptations for anyone involved in managing the assets of the organization. So we're going to look at how can we implement financial policies. So first and foremost, signing authority. A standard safeguard in volunteer organization is to require 2 authorized officers to sign all checks. In many organizations, 3 or 4 persons will be authorized to provide the 2 signatures, so that if one person becomes ill or goes on an extended trip, right, the organization always has at least 2 people to sign the checks. This procedure is ineffective if one of the officers signs a number of blank checks in advance. While probably well-intentioned, this person has abdicated their duty as an officer and director and has put the organization's funds at risk, because if you already just have somebody pre-sign checks, therefore one more person with signing authority could be writing checks to anywhere and for anything at any time and saying that we got the 2 signatures that we needed. So you want to make sure you have your checks and balances. Signing officers and the entire board should always insist on all checks being completely filled in before anyone signs. Officers with signing authority may also want to verify the checks against the corresponding invoices before signing. So let's start with that first. We're going to work on signing authority, and we're building up these policies and procedures as we go along so that I'd have something to work with when I'm creating that for you. So currently, do you guys have a checking account that you utilize for the organization?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, the same thing. We use the same. We have three
Mhm.
signatories and 2 ways to sign. So we do the same thing. We have 3 signatories.
Okay. Who are the signatories?
It's me, the treasurer, and somebody choosing from the membership according to our constitution, a neutral person from the member. So the member choose somebody. So 2 from the executive, then 1 from the membership. Choosing by the members. Yeah.
Okay, so you, the treasurer, and a neutral person from the membership, and they're already on the bank, and they're already on the bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the 3. So any 2 can sign.
I think it was Martin that we put there, right?
Yeah, Martin said that.
Yeah, Martin was one of them.
Okay. Martin.
Yeah, Martin Ogogo.
All right. Spell his last name?
Ogogo. O-G-H-O-G-H-O. Ogogo.
O-G-H-O-G-H-O.
GHO, yeah.
Yeah, Martin Ogogo.
Perfect. So when I'm writing these up, I want to make sure that we have the details.
Yeah.
All right. And your treasurer's name again?
Regina Colo.
Regina. Got it. I see it on your screen.
Mhm.
Perfect. So you, Mr. Bernard,
Mhm.
Regina, and Martin. Perfect. So we have that set up.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to look at regular reporting. The board should specify a regular schedule of financial reporting and the level of detail they require in those reports. At a minimum, financial reports should indicate the current cash position of the organization, the inflows and outflows for the reporting period, and any outstanding expenses or receipts. They must provide copies of the report to all board members. It is the duty of the directors to ensure that they review and understand the financial reports provided. The financial books or records of the organization are the property of the organization and not the treasurer. They should be open for examination at any reasonable time by the directors of the organization. So currently, how often do you go through your financial reports?
Oh, we don't really often go through them. But when necessary, we get make report. Most of the time, we make our annual report. Well, every month we have a little bit of report from the bank that we use for our transaction. So we keep that on file also for our tax period.
So you really just
But
review reports annually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to suggest that we do it a little more frequently, because if you wait a whole year before you go through stuff, that's a lot of work to go back in the past year, and some things that can be missed, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So I suggest you either go through reports monthly or at least quarterly. So therefore, which is every 3 months.
Okay, quarter will be fine.
Okay, so I'm going to put that here.
Because some months we don't really do anything some months, so quarter will be okay.
Quarterly. So every 3 months, and you want to ensure that there are checks and balances. And it's good too, because you're going to look at what months were we generating a lot more funding or revenue for the organization. What was causing that slowdown? Yeah, what was causing the slowdown at time? What are our expenses? How can we generate more revenue during this period, because we realize that it's a slow period? We don't want to just look at, funding opportunities through grants. We also want to look at fundraising initiatives, events that we could be throwing, ways that we could generate more money for the organization during this slow time. If you look at it once a year, it's going to be hard to pinpoint when these real slow periods are, what you could have been doing during that time, and to plan for the next year around the same time if you realize that it's a consistent thing around that month. So the regular reporting and looking at your financial reports will help you realize these things, and then put strategies in place so that you can always be looking to increase your funding opportunities and revenue. for the organization.
Okay.
I'm making sure that I put
Yeah.
these notes in here too.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to look at annual budgets and spending limits.
Mhm.
Spending authority for the signing officers is normally provided in the annual budget of the organization. In most organizations, the board of directors delegates authority to the signing officers for day-to-day purchases outlined in the budget. This means that the treasurer does not have to wait for approval at a board meeting every time a new pencil needs to be purchased, right? Provided
Yeah.
that pencils and office supplies are included in the budget.
Yeah.
Expenditures not included in the budget should be approved by motion at a meeting of the board.
Mhm.
The organization may set out spending limits for the officers on major purchases. Expenditures over a predetermined dollar level may require board approval. A sample board policy could state that any purchases over $500 require approval by motion at a board meeting. For larger expenditures or for capital expenditures, the organization may have a policy that requires a competitive bidding process. Written quotes from 2 or 3 vendors would be obtained and presented to the board before a purchase was approved. So when looking at annual budgets and spending limits, let's start first and foremost. Is there like a minimum or that you have required, like any purchases over a certain period, a certain amount requires board approval? Do you have that in place?
Well, when we read it in the Constitution, they did it in a way it was, they say $100, which of course was unreasonable. So basically what we'll do is when we're having program, we carry it to the members and that we want to do this, like for hall rental, expensive for independent program. So everybody agree on the figure.
Okay.
The figures agree upon. So, but right now, the most that we do monthly is our rent, which is a fixed amount, and the signage. Yeah, so far that's what we do, and it just flow that because it's already part of our project. But any other spending, don't want to have a party or program, we come to the membership and then they know how much we have to spend, and we set up a committee, and the committee bring that budget to us.
Larger items or events. Okay. So there is a process in place currently.
Yeah.
And you're saying the limit is like anything over $100.
Yeah,
right?
that was in the Constitution. Yeah,
Over
everything over
$100
100 have to be agreed upon.
stated in the Constitution. Okay, do you have an RFP process enabled?
What's RP?
So RFP is like you submit requests for proposals. So if, let's say, there is a big job or a big project that you want to work on, instead of just picking somebody you know or your best friend, you have an open call for people to submit proposals to work with you, and then you pick the one who provides the best price or work or something like that. Like, do you guys have a process like that?
Oh, we haven't reached to that level yet, so we haven't had that
But you will.
experience.
You
Yeah.
will. Okay. So I'm gonna put here, we're gonna make some
Basically, we have
recommendations.
similar thing before we printed our T-shirt and thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, because we don't have much prayer, yeah. So far we have had that experience before, like printing T-shirt. We find 2 or 3%. You choose the person that's more reasonable. But that
Okay.
again is level a certain committee, to look out for the printing agency. And we always use this guy who's an African, and Mark, he always print our T-shirt and give a reasonable price.
Okay.
But we have not had a real challenge that we have 3 or 4 other options. So yeah,
Okay. So as you get larger and as you
yeah,
have bigger projects coming, you know, it's going to look like favoritism if you just give it to your friends. And then you have to have it look more impartial, that you're picking the best person with the best price for the best to do the best job, in
Mhm.
yeah,
essence, right? Especially if you
yeah,
get like $1 million and the government wants to see how you're spending it, then they're going to ask you a question, well, how did you choose this person? Can't say I chose them because they've been working with us for the longest time or they're a good friend or whatever the case may be. They're going to want to know that you actually had an RFP process. These are
Mhm.
the RFPs that you took in. This is the reason why you guys chose. You guys went to your board meeting, everybody voted, and this person ended up winning. Because even when I am working with other organizations, I submit RFPs. It takes some work to prepare these RFPs, but you have to put forth why do you think you're the best organization to help this not-for-profit with this initiative. And you have to go and pretty much state your history, your past work experience, some achievements that you've had as a company. And then you have to put forth a potential budget and how much you think this is going to cost. And then they'll call you for an interview. So then there's an interview process to see who they want. And then they choose based on that. So they have like a whole system and processes that are in place before they get to that. So now, if they're even questioned by the government, who's usually giving the funding, why did you choose this organization? They have our RFP, the interviews, the paperwork, and everything to support it. So there's no questioning. And you always want to make sure that they can't really come back and question you or look like it's favoritism and you're just trying to give money to your friends. So the reason for all of this. So I'll put some
yeah.
guidelines in there on how to maneuver an RFP process for you when it comes to doing that. Because we're looking at you getting larger. So we want to think as if
Oh
you're
yeah, we're
already
growing.
larger. Exactly. All right. So committee and division accounts. Committees or divisions of an organization may have separate bank accounts, and some may even have their own treasurer. The board of directors of the parent organization should be aware of these kinds of accounts and authorize their use of them. These accounts should be operated under the same principles as those of the parent organization, including any requirements for an annual independent financial review. Committees and divisions of incorporated organizations are a part of the corporation in the eyes of the law. Their money is the corporation's money. They enjoy the benefits of incorporation, but they also share the accompanying responsibilities and accountability. This includes the responsibility to report to the board of directors and the membership an accurate account of the finances. The board will determine the frequency of this reporting, but reports should be presented at least once a year and should be made through the treasurer of the parent organization. So currently, it's just one. You don't have many divisions or have many different accounts. But when you do get to that place, because you might get a large amount of funding and you have the program division, you have the sporting division, you have the youth division, you have the seniors division. Each division will have its own budget. Each division might need somebody to manage that budget. What systems do you have in place currently for something like that? You're on mute.
Currently, we just have the one account, which is a checking account. We don't even have any other account besides the checking. So everything we do is by check. So we have different committees, as I was speaking of. President and I, we have our ad hoc election committee. They have their own budget that they send to us because we conduct election. We have a program. There's a program and fundraising committee. They send a budget to us, and then we fund them. We have our social and sport committee. We have another committee.
Hold on, list the committees for me again. Start from the first one.
The first committee.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a program and fundraising committee.
And fundraising. Okay.
Yeah, if they have we have a program, they will go to them and they tell, okay, this year Independent Day, we're gonna have a fundraiser, we're gonna do this, we need the amount, we are printing t-shirts, we need to print tickets, we need to rent a hall, and then we give them the money. Yeah, they will have for the sports and social committee, the same thing. They plan program too, mostly for our flag day. We give that aspect of the program to them because the program fundraising committee, they take care of celebration that's in July. Then right into
Mhm.
August is our flag day. So we want to relieve
Okay.
that work. So we send that duty to the social and sport committee to take care of the
Okay.
flag day. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we have a conflict resolution committee also, complete for conflict in the community. But in the past, we have not had any budget for them because
I
nothing
was
have
about
been
to say,
raised
what
into.
would they need? Yeah, what would they
Yeah,
need budget wise?
yeah, now. So yeah, and then we have another committee, which is not a steady committee. But those three committees, they are steady committee: program and fundraising, conflict resolution, social and sport. Those are steady committee. But we have other
Okay.
committee that we have in place. Yeah,
But they
like
don't
the
require
election.
a budget.
They require budget when the need arises that we have a program or
Uh,
there's something happen, then they have a budget. Yeah, depending on what happened in the community.
so you have an
Yeah,
election committee, you said?
we have a election. We call it commission because it's ad hoc. It only come in place when there's an election coming up.
Oh, okay.
After the election, on the day of inauguration, that committee is dissolved.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, they are dissolved, so they're not standing. They just come about when there's a need for election. So it's a
Okay.
it's a it's a ad hoc.
So realistically, you only have the two committees that would have their own budgets: program and fundraising committee and sports and social committee.
Yeah,
And
those
they
are
would,
that three standing
and
committee, conflict
so they
resolution.
will conflict resolution, but they don't need a budget because they
Yeah,
would
they don't
want
need
to.
that, but nothing have come up that will need budget for, so we don't know yet.
Yeah, well, they don't need
But
a budget.
What
Yeah,
about the
They don't.
entertainment committee? What about the
where
entertainment one?
which
that's
Can we
the
make
entertainment?
that one to be standard, like the entertainment committee? Because
We don't
sometimes,
have we don't have entertainment. We're standing committee at the three committee:
we
fund,
have entertainment. Yeah,
program and fundraising,
yeah, that play the
conflict
entertainment for
resolution. They all fall in our program and fundraising.
yeah,
That will tell us
oh,
group there.
okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
that will tell us
Okay.
that group there. So
So
yeah, they
program and
do that one.
fundraising falls under entertainment falls under program and fundraising.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
together there. Yeah.
Okay. So this one needs a budget. And do you have like a budget that you allocate them, like a standing budget?
No,
No standing budget, except we have a program there. We send it over to them, then they work at the modalities and come back to us that they need this. Yeah. So
Mhm.
every time it changes depending on the, like this year we are not having any fundraiser or nothing. So it's a simple independent day program we're gonna have.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't know what the budget be like. But on the circumstance in the past, maximum we spent was 500 because we go to the park and yes, everybody just chip in like potluck like. So
Yeah. Okay.
it varies every year.
But the Independence Day they used to come with budget like 1,500, 2,000.
Yeah, because we have to
Okay.
rent a hall. We gotta rent a hall, print
We got to
T-shirt
rent
and print
hall.
tickets and buy alcohol to sell and this and that. So it's always high.
Okay.
But for
So
this year,
then
we only
there.
have it in the park. Yeah.
So generally, it fluctuates, is what you're saying, based
Yeah,
on the year and what's happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So every year at the annual meeting, you'll decide what the budget will be for this department for the year, and then allocate that, and then they have that to work with. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Now we're going to look at credit and debit cards. Credit and debit cards are convenient and widely accepted, and many organizations have decided that it is appropriate for their staff or officers to be issued a card for the organization. If this is the case, then the officer should meet with officials from their financial institution to discuss the options that can be put in place. These may include daily transaction limits and limits to specific classes of vendors. The persons who carry the cards need to have very clear guidelines around the use of these cards. An organization credit card should never be used for personal items, even if the individual pays their share of the balance as soon as the statement comes due. Do you have debit or credit cards for your organizational bank accounts?
No.
No, we want to use
Just
checking.
checks.
Everything is check. Yeah. We don't have debit or credit.
Organization does not use it. So if you want to purchase things for, let's say, a sporting event, you go somewhere and write a check?
No, what we'll do, we'll write a check and put it in the name of the chairman of the committee. They get a check to the bank and get the cash.
Okay, so that's the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, when they pay some check to other organizations, maybe call me and other people like annual due and thing, then we'll write check for those and give it to them. Like our rent, a monthly rent and thing, we pay through check. But the other thing that need cash, they disperse the check. Like we are traveling now, we're having a convention. We will be going to Kitchener in August. We're giving check for plane ticket, and then we go to check my wife's name. She cash out to buy the ticket. So they always get it. So it's different, yeah, at different times.
Okay, and how do you record those transactions?
Oh, we qualify the LIBCAM last
I will
convention
record them.
2020. I will record it under the name. Their travel expenses.
Is that what she asked?
No, I'm asking, yeah, so how do you, so when they go and they take the cash now to purchase whatever it is that they purchase, how do you make a record of
Yeah,
what
we
was
get the
purchased?
receipts. We get all the
Okay.
receipts from them, yeah.
So you're collecting the receipts and then
Yeah.
you write them down where?
We
Just make a notation because it's on the other or the stop, the check stop is also written there, so you know how the money is going out to which account, which person is going to. You write the main check, then on the check stop, you put the amount there, the column, the date, and everything, and what the money was used for. Then when the receipt comes, you can balance it, and you know how that money was spent.
That can be quite cumbersome, especially like, let's say you become larger and you have more money to spend. I think there needs to be somewhat of a better system
Easier way,
in
yeah.
place. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if it's something digital or a spreadsheet or something where you can track it a lot easier, because it seems like you're writing it down on the check stub of what the money was used for. Then you have to go back later during your annual whatever and reconcile all of these things. And
It's
let's
a hard
say
way.
now we're working with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 worth of things. You're going to find that this system that you have is not going to work.
No, it's very tedious.
It will be. And if you put systems in place now while you aren't working with such large amounts of money, it's easier to follow through with when you get larger amounts of money because you already put the system in place.
Yeah, the guy who always doing our taxi even told me that you're going to do something from starting from August. You're going to set up certain things, so we are looking up to that.
Okay, good.
To make it easy, because he gave our property here myself, I will do that together. It's a hard work.
So your accountant is going to help you to set up systems for recording trends. Yeah, because as I'm listening to it, I'm like, let's say this organization has $1 million. This is not going to work.
It's hard.
Transactions going forward. Okay. And it might be easier later on if there was an authorized debit card where you would purchase these things. So then it will have a digital receipt that you then upload into your system, and it's easier to track that way.
We have monthly bank statements, so it also helps, because we deal with one bank. We only deal with one bank, so
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cash transactions, I guess we just talked about that. Some activities of organizations may be most easily handled with cash. Sometimes this may result in large amounts of cash being handled at one time. Some simple procedures can limit the possibility of theft or any accusations of theft. So really, we kind of just handle that the same way, because you write a check, then someone will cash the check, then the cash is used for whatever it needs to be used for, then the receipts are brought back, and then the receipts are written down against the check, and it's like 5, 6, 7 steps. So it pretty much deals with cash transactions as well. How do you guys, do you guys get cash donations?
Do we have cash donation? I want to
Yeah.
catch donation when we have a program
When
from
we-
ticket
yeah,
sale or
that's-
from membership due, you
that's
know.
all.
Yeah. That's our revenue generating area.
So it's from
Basically,
membership.
we do cash donation when we're having something like bereavement, you know, then people donate the cash, but we don't use it for the account from our hands straight to the person intended for or the purpose. So we don't record that in LIBCAM budget.
It's just a voluntary gift to sympathize with the people, so it's
Yeah,
not something that we can put on record.
except for our monthly due payment. And if we're having program, people,
Okay, so you only
Okay.
take donations like if you need something to help a
Yeah,
specific
so-
person in the community. So
Yeah,
it's
we'll have
not
some
really
donate-
for
we-
LIBCAM.
yeah, we had some LIBCAM donation in the past, like because we have this project to get our own community hall.
Yeah.
And then we tax certain member in the community or certain amount and people pay.
Yeah.
That was a cash donation and that went into a LIBCAM account.
Okay, so that's really the only cash donation that you have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say going forward, we have more instances where you're getting cash donations. How would you handle that?
We handle it.
We gave it the financial secretary
Mhm.
is the one that collect the cash and write the names down
Mhm.
and the date that she receive it and the amount. Yeah, so she has a record for that. She has a book for that.
She pass it over to the treasurer. It doesn't come from the financial secretary directly to whoever that money was donated for or whatever. It goes to the treasurer and the treasurer has a record. Then before it goes to the president, and then the president get his team to go and deliver that message to whoever who collected that money for. So it goes through those kind of processes, not just from collection straight on to donation. No,
Okay.
financial secretary, treasurer, president, then the donation is being
I
made.
think is she talking about the donation that we receive within the organization?
Yes, that's what
Oh,
I'm talking about.
she
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
what-
donation for
yeah.
us.
For
Yeah,
us,
for LIBCAM.
it's not for the one that we cut.
No, and not for
collect
bereavement or other thing.
bereavement,
No.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's okay. Then it comes from the financial
That what Regina
secretary.
said, yeah.
It
Yeah.
goes to the treasurer, then to the bank.
Secretary, the treasurer, and bank. So that's the process.
Mhm.
All right. I guess once the accountant sets up your systems, he might actually have a system that he sets up for
Yeah.
how you accept donations as well, because tax purposes, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to look at have cash receipts counted and recorded as soon as possible from the time that they were received. We're looking at cash transactions. Always ensure that there are at least 2 people present when cash is being handled. And you said there's financial secretary and the treasurer. Once cash has been counted, lock it up in a location that can only be accessed by authorized individuals, which would most likely be those 2. Make bank deposits regularly to avoid having significant amounts of cash on hand. I mean, that's for obvious reasons. If people realize that you handle a lot of cash, you might be a target for theft or, robbery. So
Yeah.
that's good to make sure you get rid of it and put it in the bank as soon as possible. And in cases where cash is being distributed, request receipts or have the individuals receiving the cash sign a form stating that they have received it. So that's one way to track it as well, which you said there's a book in essence that the financial secretary has that she records these things in. And maybe they both sign it to see that I acknowledge and I've witnessed. Now we're going to talk about financial reviews. Independent financial reviews specifically. Every organization should have their financial statements examined by an independent, objective, and qualified person once a year. A financial review completed by a professional in the field will provide the organization, 1, a credible opinion about the accuracy of the financial statements, 2, judgment on how fairly the statements reflect the financial situation of the organization, and 3, the degree to which the organization has complied with generally accepted accounting principles. And the person that you have doing this is your accountant, you said already, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Good. So you're ahead there. Any concerns about the financial health of the organization or the financial practices of the organization will be brought to the attention of the membership. This type of review provides the board with assurance that the assets of the organization are being managed properly and that the financial records and supporting documents are accurate and complete. Organizations should review the legislation under which they are incorporated, as well as their own constitution and bylaws for information about the type of financial review required. Organizations that have status as registered charities may require a higher level of assurance. Granting institutions may also stipulate the level of financial review required before they will agree to provide funding. And that's something that we're talking about. Like if you're looking at getting larger donations or larger grants, they might want to have an idea of how your financial process works before they release large amounts of funding to you. So making sure that you have all of these things in order, have your accountant, have your books, have your policies. They might want to see these policies. They might want to do a review of that before they provide you larger amounts of funding. And that's why we're doing this as well. So the word audit is commonly used. An audit is precisely defined by the accounting profession and provides a very high level of assurance for an organization. Other services are available from accounting professionals, providing varying levels of assurance for the organization. These varying levels of assurance involve varying levels of work by the accounting firm. The price of these services will normally increase with the level of assurance provided. So an accountant can provide you with more information about their various services, but here is a brief overview of some commonly provided services. So one is an audit, which includes the use of inspection, observation, inquiry, confirmation, computation, analysis, and discussion to provide the highest level of assurance. Sorry, did somebody say something?
Sorry, it was me talking, sorry.
Oh, okay, I thought you were talking to me. Next is review. A review includes the use of inquiry, analysis, and discussion of information supplied by the organization to provide a moderate level of assurance. A review is less rigorous than an audit and does not provide the same level of assurance. And then we have compilation. In a compilation, the accounting firm compiles financial statements for the organization from the books and records of the organization. The organization knows that the statements are accurate based on the information provided, but have no assurance that the records have been verified as accurate. The term notice to reader is also used for this third level of assurance. In some cases, a notice to reader may go beyond a compilation and provide a somewhat higher level of assurance. So out of these three, currently, which one would you say that your accountant provides for you?
Review.
I thought so.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Just making a note of that. I think that's pretty sufficient for where you are right now. So use of volunteers for financial review. Small volunteer organizations may find the cost of accounting services to be expensive in comparison to their operating budgets, which is true. For groups that find themselves questioning the affordability of a professional examination of their financial records, there are other options. In all cases, the board and the membership of the organization must be aware of and approve of the level of assurance that is being provided. Some accounting professionals and firms may be willing to provide free or discounted services for nonprofits in their communities. Is this a possibility in your community? Take a look at your membership list and see if there are any members who are practicing or retired accounting professionals. These people may be willing to contribute their time and talents. Do not use someone who is currently on the board, as this can present a conflict of interest situation for the individual and the organization. So I'm assuming that your accountant is an external person from the organization.
Yeah. It's not like it's a Canadian.
Okay. So some organizations will locate other volunteers who do not have credentials in the field of accounting, but who have other relevant experiences, such as a bookkeeper and experienced treasurer of another organization. This type of volunteer review is no replacement for the services of a professional accountant, but it is certainly better than doing nothing and can provide small organizations with a modest level of assurance. If your organization decides to use volunteers, it is advisable to have 2 individuals working together. As with any volunteer task, it is important to provide the individuals recruited with a clear job description that outlines the tasks to be completed. What records do you want them to examine and in what detail? What type of report is the organization expecting and when must the task be completed? So if you guys are having meetings on a quarterly basis, if there is someone in the organization who has certain skills, they can review things on a monthly basis to make sure that by the time you get to your quarterly meeting, it's not as labor intensive either, and things are really already in alignment and ready to go. So it's just something to think about, even though I know you already have your 2 people and you're going to have your quarterly meetings. But if there's any, as we get larger, because we always got to think as if we're getting
Yeah.
larger and the growth, that might be something to look into if there's anybody in the membership that has these types of skills that could assist the treasurer and the financial secretary by putting things together monthly so that they can review it quarterly. Now we're going to look at what level of financial review is right for us. Recruit the highest level of financial expertise that your organization can afford, and that can be justified based on the complexity of the organization's business. Discuss your situation and the options with a professional accountant and find out what the costs will be. Ensure that the board and the membership are aware of and comfortable with the level of assurance that is currently being provided, and review this every year. The more money that is passing through an organization's hands, the higher the risk and the greater the need for a high level of assurance. And that's what I'm saying. Like, as you think about growth and as you think about your organization generating more revenue, you want to have some things in place. So right now it's like, okay, we have our financial secretary, our treasurer, our accountant. We're going to start doing reviews quarterly. We used to do it annually. Now we're going to do it quarterly and annually with the accountant. As we get more money, we want to make sure that we have more checks and balances. We're going to start doing it monthly. We're going to utilize potentially volunteers in the membership. Then we're going to still have quarterly, and then we'll have a yearly. The more money that you have to handle, the more frequently you want to be looking at your financials. We're going to look at leaving a paper trail. So retention of records. Organizations should have policies in place that clearly state the length of time that financial records of the organization must be kept. This will apply both to physical written records, ledgers, checks, receipts, etc., and to electronic records if the treasurer is using a computer program to manage the finances of the organization, which is going to go into effect this year. 7 years is a commonly accepted length of time, but choose the length of time for your organization based on the business of the organization. So how long has LIBCAM been in existence? Oh, you're on mute, Mr. Kume.
We started from 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's 4 years now.
Yeah.
Okay. So as they're saying, it's good to have at least 7 years of financial records in place. And they say 7 years because that's usually how far Revenue Canada will go back and look at things. And that's the reasoning behind that. CRA looks at 7 years of records. So since CRA looks at 7 years of records, as you approach your 8th year, What would you do with the records from 2018? Because they'll no longer be relevant per se.
We'll still have a
So you'll still keep it in a storage of
Yeah.
some sort?
yeah, we'll still have a
Okay. And you're gonna have to think about it because as your organization, the time goes on and you're in 20 years in existence now, you only need 7 years of records. The other 13 years may just be taking up space that you don't have to store them. So you're gonna want to come up with a system or process on how you're going to manage that. Shredding, burning, whatever,
Yeah,
you know.
we
so
will
people
shred,
don't
yeah,
get-
we'll probably shred the one that we don't really need. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're gonna want to make space. If you only need 7 years, there's no need in hanging on to 30 years of stuff. And we expect the organization to, you know, last and exist for that long. So we want to at least put systems in place or like, okay, once we get to the beginning of this year, we're going to start purging older financial records to make space for what's coming and what's new.
Mhm.
Written policies. Volunteer organizations normally experience a regular turnover of directors and officers. A written policies and procedures document is a useful guide for both new and experienced directors and will be especially helpful in years where a large percentage of the board is new. This document can also be used to clearly communicate with the membership if there are ever questions about how the board is dealing with the financial affairs of the organization. So remember, we started working on policies and procedures a few sessions ago.
yeah.
Do you remember? Have you guys tackled any of these since?
No, we have not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that on your list of things to do.
Mhm.
And I shared it in a folder, what I started and the document that you can use, because remember we're following like the YMCA organization's document for some examples of policies and procedures. So maybe it's something that you can go through. I will share the list that I had already started compiling.
Mhm.
And as a board, I don't know how often you meet. How often do you meet currently?
We meet them every month, once a month. And sometimes
Mr.
emergency-
Kume, Mr. Kume, you're on mute, so I didn't hear what you said. So once a month?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we meet
meet
once a month.
once a month, and sometimes if anything comes up, we have emergency.
Emergency meetings.
Okay. And that's outside of this meeting that we have together, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, outside of this
Okay.
one.
So when is your
We-
next board meeting?
It's a board meeting or a regular meeting. We don't have
Well,
board.
whatever. When is
Oh, we
when,
are.
you-
This
when's your
coming
next
Sunday.
Tomorrow, we're meeting tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next meeting. Okay. And that's a committee meeting or board meeting?
Will be a general
Committee
meeting
meeting.
for the committee.
General committee meeting.
Yes, the last Sunday of each month.
Okay. Putting that in here. What I'm going to recommend is tomorrow at your meeting, you start working on the policies and procedures, or at least break it up into parts where each person can take on a certain section of it outside of what I already started. Look at your YMCA document that I share with you, and it'll be the link is on the top of the document that I'm going to share, and kind of go through and say and divide it. It's divide and conquer. We're going to go through this. I'm going to go through this. You're going to go through this. So by the time we come to our next meeting in the next month, we would have already listed out the policies and procedures that we liked from the document that we were looking at. And we can start putting together what works for LIBCAM outside of what I already helped you start.
Okay.
And then you can share that with me so I can help put it in the final document that was completed. And this is what you came up with. You're making a note of this. I'm going to send it to you right after this. Just making a note. All right. Now we're looking at creating peace of mind. Developing financial procedures can seem like a lot of work to prevent something that may never happen, but view these procedures as a form of insurance for your organization. Remember that it's too late to close the barn door after the horse has run away or after some of the organization's assets have walked away. The missing funds may be just the tip of the iceberg in terms of costs to the organization when compared with time spent by the officers and directors, the emotional wear and tear on people most closely involved, and the potential loss of credibility in the eyes of the community. So we want to make sure that we prevent all that by having these policies and procedures in place, and especially when we're looking at financial policies, because you want to build confidence in your organization, especially when you're looking for access to more funding. They want to know that you know how to manage the funding that you already have, and you have systems in place to handle more funding, which will give them the impetus to really invest in your organization and donate more to the organization to help you achieve your goals and goals for the community. Oh, wow. And that brings us to the end. We actually got through that in an hour.
Oh, wow. That's good.
You guys are really great, really great. And primarily reason why we got through it is because you have a lot of these things already in place. You'd be surprised that a lot of organizations have nothing. And at least you do have some systems in place. Things are going to have to be worked on, but we're not starting from scratch, which is really good.
Okay.
So I'm going to take it away, and I'm going to work on some of the financial policies that we've discussed here and start putting some of those in place for you to share with you. And like I said, I'm going to share the policies and procedures document that I want you all to work on over the next month, and then send it back to me what you've come up with as policies and procedures for LIBCAM.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
My pleasure. It was lovely seeing you again, and I look forward to working with you next month. So before I go, let's put our next meeting in place from now, so I can send the calendar invite. So you always said like it was the last or the second or the third, the second or the last Saturday in the month?
No, usually just because of the vice president, I think, I don't know, it alternates because she works on weekends. For me, I don't work weekend, and the treasurer too, I don't know her schedule. So that's why I would make it look, because she's off now. So
every other weekend. So
yes,
since
so that I
this
would do
weekend,
it.
I won't be available for the coming weekend.
Yes, that's how I did that.
Okay, so it's either going to be July 9th or July 23rd is what I'm looking at, right?
Yeah.
So let's do July 23rd.
And July
'Cause
23rd is a technical Saturday too.
Yeah.
It's your what?
It's
a tough Saturday. Our independent is July 26th.
And then
and we want to celebrate on the 23rd because for the previous week on a weekday.
Okay, so you're saying that won't work?
No,
yeah,
so
because we want to celebrate.
early.
We want to celebrate our Independence Day on the 23rd, the Saturday of the 23rd.
What about the 30th? You can't make the 30th.
No, she will be working.
They tell you for on working day because she is every other.
Yeah. So
And
it's
the
either the 9th
23rd
or the 23rd.
So what's about the 9th? Are you available that time?
I'm not available on the 9th.
Oh,
I'm actually I'm at my sister's. This is my sister's wedding. I'd love to be with you, but if I'm not at my sister's wedding, I'll have problems.
Oh, because that's it's a family problem. Okay,
Yes.
we'll push it. We'll push it. Well, can the vice president make it at work? Chip in, because right now it's tough because the 23rd we all do.
It can be because she only available me like the week that the vice president will be working.
If she's at work and can join us, that's what I mean, from work. If she can join from work. Is it possible to join from work?
Even if she listens in and could type an answer in the chat.
Can you join from work?
Joining from work, my data, I have to use my